Mr. Storm, if you have more comments or more questions, submit them and we will get them back to you. I need to move on. I'll come back. I'll come back. Go ahead, Ms. Betts, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Deborah Betts, and we do own 38 rental properties in Selinsgrove and Sunbury. We don't have the drug problem over in Selinsgrove like we do here because they have ordinances. And let me tell you what, this is an awesome town. We have an opportunity to change this town around. We have a team of people that are ready and willing to make it work, to make it better. But we have to change the mindset of what we're doing. What we've been doing for the last 10 years has done nothing for us. We've gone nowhere but downhill. And I work in the health field, and I know that there's mental illness and drugs is part of them. Being a drug dealer is not, okay? That's not a mental illness. Right. All right? I don't want it in our town. My neighbors don't want it in my town. I'm tired of seeing homemade crack pipes out in my alley. I'm tired of my daughter being accosted by heroin addicts. Okay, yeah, they have a mental illness, but somebody is feeding it to them. Why are we going to allow these people to live in our community and give them the access to these people that want to take them? If you're concerned about their mental illness and you want to advocate for them, then you should be wanting to get the drug dealers out of our community, shouldn't you? Yeah, that's what I thought. As far as I'm concerned, I think it's an awesome idea. I'm excited that we're moving forward. I'm excited to see a team of people who are saying, listen, we can't be stuck from 50 years ago or 10 years ago about what we used to do. It's not working. But they can't do it by themselves. We have to work with them. We have to change our mindset from the 10 years ago because it's not working. So anything we do will be an improvement, and we can tweak it. They're not saying, hey, we've got to do it this way. They're saying, listen, I welcome the ideas. Let's tweak what they're giving us an opportunity to do, to change. I just want to see better. I want to see better for our whole community. And that's all I have to say.
Say your name, sir, please.
My name is Leon Harrison. I used to sell drugs in Sunbury, right? So I went to jail for years and things like that, but now I too own property in Sunbury, right? So if I had money, if I sold drugs in Sunbury and I had money and I bought a house out here in Sunbury, I can parole back out here, could I not?
Yes. Yes.
There's not a problem with that. The reason why there's not too many drug dealers in Selinsgrove is because you guys don't have too many rental properties over there. They used to have Palmettos. I lived in Palmettos. When I lived in Palmettos, they allowed drug dealers in Palmettos. So that's not really an issue either. So I lived in Palmettos. I grew up in Palmettos. You can't tell me different. So I don't really think that that's the issue. You're saying that these drug dealers, your problem is drug users. A person could go to Waynesport to get drugs. They can go anywhere to get drugs. I don't think your problem's with drug dealers. I'm not a drug dealer. Like I told you before, I don't have a problem with your ordinance. But the way y'all going about it is it's getting a little shifty. I didn't really like the way y'all attacked this guy over here. He's not saying he's against your ordinance either. But he's saying that maybe you guys should not attack the same way you do. Like I said, I sold drugs in Sunbury. I own multiple properties. If I didn't do my state bid, the police out here, they locked me up. I did 7 years straight. So yeah, I'm able to live out here legally now. But at the same time, by me being a landlord, I don't want to see a person who's in the same position as me feel like they can't live out here because you guys have an ordinance and things like that. I have a brand, it's called Evolution. The middle of that brand right there is my state prison outfit. That's how I live by that. Not saying that I live by going to jail. I live by evolving from that period right there. So you can't really tell me that just because a person go to jail, they used to sell drugs and things like that, that they can't change. Because I own property out here, I pay taxes out here. So it's not really that much of an issue. Right. You guys aren't taking my housing permits. That'd be against the law. But you're going to stop me from renting to other people that have been in the same shoes as me.
Well, if they're selling it, yeah. But if they're doing it.
But I've been in that shoe.
Sorry.
I've been in that shoe, and I'm back home, and I own property, just like
her.
Not doing this back and forth.
I'm just saying, like,
not
y'all going about this?
We're done. Crazy. Not here.
We are done, but no, we're not done. We're here.
All right.
We're here. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Go to Selinsgrove.
Hold on, I want to hear people who didn't get to speak yet. Go ahead, sir.
My name's Terrence Bossert. I've lived around here about 40 years, maybe a little longer. I've met a lot of people who have been convicted of felony drug charges and all kinds of other things. Just living in Sunbury, you meet these kind of people, I think, if you go out and meet anybody. Most of those people I've met when they got out of jail or after they finished their sentence, they weren't looking to go commit more crimes. They just wanted to live a peaceful life, work, and live safely in our community. that's something we should try to encourage rather than discourage. And it's something I think we need to consider is what's more dangerous, a convicted drug felon with a home or a homeless convicted drug felon?
Thank you, sir.
Or a current addict.
Go ahead, sir, right here.
My name's Sean Bingaman. I don't live in this community. I used to. I actually live across the river now, and I gotta applaud these guys for what they're trying to do. What some of the community members want to do is clean up your streets. Because right now, what I see is a lot of, they come from over here, they walk across the bridge. They walk right past my house. They're there by the kids, you know. My daughter went to school over here, K through 12. She was terrified of high school because there were 3 gangs in the school that ran it. The teachers didn't, the gangs did. You know, and above anything with all the adults, it's getting to the kids. And, you know, a lot of you probably grew up smoking weed. That was a thing back then. Now it's a lot more than that. Now it's, you don't know what your kid's gonna get and they're gonna be dead. You know, so I hope these guys are able to pass this ordinance, and when you do, I would like to get a full copy of it to present to my council meeting or smoke it down.
Thank you. Go ahead, ma'am. Back.
I'm Kim Holbuck. I also work in healthcare at a local hospital, and I do live here, and I am a new owner in the last year, but I've lived in the same place for 18 years, 19 years. I can say I applaud you, Leon. I'm proud of you, because I know where you come from, and you have turned it around. That's not what this ordinance is about. This ordinance isn't about discriminating or cutting out anyone who has done what you've done. You've turned it around. I work in a local hospital. I see 5 to 10 overdoses from Cole Township a week. Some of them do not live.
You look at me, but this ordinance isn't about existing stuff. It's about historically.
Sir, I'm just saying.
But you turn around and look at me while you're saying it.
Back and forth here, ma'am. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Addiction is everywhere. It's not just in Sunbury. It's not just in Cole Township. It's not just in Shamokin. It's everywhere. It's in Shamokin Dam. It's everywhere. And we need, as a community, to wake up and realize that. We're not discriminating against somebody because they have a drug addiction. We're discriminating. We're not discriminating or violating their rights. This has been on the books since I've been in social services, which is way longer than I should be. I feel for Mayor Brocious, because I see those kids at the refuge coming in. They don't know if they're gonna have food when they go home, because they grew up, or they're growing up, in a home with addicts. It's not about the addicts, it's about the people that are supplying the drugs.
Amen.
There's documentaries poisoned by fentanyl, because people are buying one thing, but they're getting another. I applaud this ordinance. Maybe it needs some tweaks. Maybe we need to go back to the drawing board and make sure that we're not violating it. But if it's based on federal housing laws, how are we violating housing rights? How are we violating a constitutional right? Kirk, proud of you. You've turned it around. I have no problem with anybody who has struggled with addiction. I have it in my family. I see it at work. I see it at the youth center. We are fighting a battle that we are going to lose if nobody wants to face the change. And that's the bottom line. I will say one comment. You said, we want you to call. We're developing a crime watch. I used to call. My name got back to the person I called about every single time.
Yep.
Even though I said to the dispatch, please don't tell them. Happened less than a year ago. Called. And I heard it out my bedroom window. They want to know who called. They say it right over the police radio, which is right in front of the person that I call about. There goes the anonymity. We need to have better enforcement of protection when we're calling to report concerns, because there is retaliation.
Yep.
That's it.
Thank you, ma'am. Lindy, go ahead. We'll work we can wait. If you can talk on it, if you can stay back there, it's up to you.
Well, that just got awkward. Everyone turned around. So I've lived in Sunbury my whole life. I can't say.
Can you turn that off, please?
I can't say that I'm scared to live in Sunbury. I'm not. I'm used to it. I grew up here. I don't know. I'm not afraid to walk down the street, but I don't let my kids do it. I don't let my 14-year-old walk anywhere. I'm I'm a very diligent parent about that. And the reason is because there's criminals, there's rental properties. Now I own a home, I don't have rental properties, but there are rental properties that are around me. And I see police there on some houses on a regular basis. There was a house that a landlord, I think first 5 years that I lived there, there was 4 different renters. All 4 of those renters ended up in jail. That's why they re-rented the property. I couldn't let my kids run around the neighborhood and feel safe about it. I get it, a lot of parents do, but maybe a lot of parents don't care as much as I do. But, you know, I just want anybody who owns a property to realize that your bottom line is not more important than the safety of the people in this city. And I am so tired of people who, that's their main concern, because they want to be able to rent to whoever's just going to pay them money without having to worry about it. I think you should really take a good hard look in the mirror and think about what that says about you as a landlord, because that says that you do not really care about the safety of this city. That's what you're here to complain about. I mean, come on. Like, this is not about, and everybody keeps bringing up addiction. Nobody's saying anything about addiction. Why does that keep coming up? It has nothing to do with that. It has to do, I mean, obviously, yeah, you keep saying it. I've had friends that have died from overdoses. I recently had a friend who lost his life to drugs just a year ago. And was he a good person? He was a great person. I loved him very, very dearly. I was very, very close to him. But do I love the person that sold him drugs? No, not at all. You know what? That person's still walking around selling drugs. And they're living their best life off of that money. And my friend's in the ground. So, you know, I don't know. I applaud this ordinance. I'm glad that you guys are taking initiative. You know, people keep saying about 2012, well, we have a lot of new faces since 2012. So I'm glad that you guys are standing up and doing the right thing. And I'm glad that some people are valuing safety of the citizens over the rights of criminals. So.
Go ahead, sir.
I gotta see getting all the background check and everything. And so when you find somebody who has a good background, you rent to them, but then down the road, they might bring somebody in that you don't know about. So that happens to me a couple times. Usually neighbors call me, say, hey, there's a guy here staying there. He's shaky like. Sometimes I catch him, sometimes I don't. I might go there for an inspection. There's a guy there or a girl there who ain't supposed to be there. So on my lease, if there's somebody in there who shouldn't be there, it's a sign for eviction. And I do it, but sometimes when you go evict somebody, it's a 50-50 chance you're going to get them out. No, it's a flip the coin he does and say, well, they're staying. It's hard sometimes with just DJ. I went there a couple times. Sometimes I win, sometimes I lose. So, no, it's kind of hard sometimes with this DJ, but I like it when the neighbors call me and say, hey, there's a guy here or a female coming in all the time. Or they say, hey, there's people coming in this house right and left. And then I go find out, see what's going on. If I don't like it, I kick them the hell out. But like I said, sometimes it's a 50-50 with the new district judges, if you're going to win or you're going to lose. And that's hard on the landlords. You try to do good, you go there, try to evict a person, and then you might win, you might lose. So I'm trying my best to get people out, but like I said, sometimes it's hard.
And we do appreciate how the type of landlords that are like you, who, when their tenants call or neighbors call saying, hey, we don't see something right, and you guys take.
I go check out because I want my people to be nice. And I always say on my lease, don't allow music, any alcohol, any loud, they're out. It's everything, you're out. I give them one warning, and that's it. Because I like the neighbors, all the places that I own, I want the people, hey, you got people beside you, knock it off. They don't like the loud music or 10 guys or females or wherever coming out, and hey, we got a lot. I get calls sometimes like, hey, there's people in and out of this one place you own. I check it out. I don't piss around. I'll go over there because I don't want no trouble with the law. You know, I want to keep everything by the book. Like when I get evict something, I go by the book for the deed. I get an eviction notice, do everything I'm supposed to. Everything's by the book. But I don't want to say, hey, you got to do this, you got to do this. I want everything right. So I'm going by the law, so I get the people out, so I get some decent people in there. So that's why, you know, sometimes you get somebody in there, they're real good, next thing you know, they bring somebody in, their boyfriend or their girlfriend or cousins in. And lucky, some neighbors call you, and sometimes you just get lucky and find them there. So it's not always the landlord's fault to bring these people in.
Yeah.
They look at the background checks good, and then they bring somebody in.
Cameras is wonderful.
Yeah.
Really. Outside cameras has helped us.
Yeah, so,
Thank you, sir. Gentleman behind you, I mean, yeah, so I don't know.
Yeah, my name's John Jones. I'm sure probably a lot of you know me, but I got quite a few rounds here in town. I got quite a few in Memphis. I got quite a few in Lewistown. Over in Lewistown, Juniata County, they start the code, what they'll do is have a list of names. I know there's legal bounds, but they found a way. You get a list of names, just don't rent to them. Yes or no. They also have a landlord association, like a meeting, all Juniata County. Communication is all it is. And I would love to start in Northumberland County. Something, you know, just to communicate. Hey, new laws, who's troublemakers, who's not.
You actually have over in Selinsgrove, if you go to the court, they'll tell you the tenants that have prior eviction or evictions for drugs, like selling drugs for abuse and for not paying past rent and damages.
Right.
So you can go right there and there's
Because
a list right there they'll give you.
We just call them hoppers. And what these people do is they'll go to one nice house, remodel,
Trash
hey, go to the next one. They tear that one up, go to the next one. And a lot of their landlords I noticed, not all of them, but some. Oh yeah, he's a good guy, just to get rid of it to the next landlord. So you gotta have communication. And that'll solve a lot of your problems. Over there in Lewistown, the crime rate dropped. I think it's like 8% since they started just 3 years ago. They did away with a code officer. And actually they cut down their police force. So, something to think about.
You guys didn't hear that part. Go ahead, ma'am, then we'll work our way over to the gentleman there.
Okay, first of all, this is just a statement, and then we'll go into what I was going to say. Just because somebody's got a nice car and it's tinted windows doesn't make them a drug dealer. My husband's black, he's got a nice car, he's got tinted windows, he's not a drug dealer. He owns houses. I just want to say that. Now, and Ginny, down there, my husband and I have several rental properties that we bought 4 that were on the nuisance list, fixed them up, put a ton of money into them, cleaned the neighborhood up, and people were coming up to us saying, thank you, you got rid of the drug dealers, you cleaned it up. And then the landlord next door to us started bringing in tenants. They sit outside and they've got a license to smoke marijuana. There's kids going by after school thinking it's cool because this guy's hanging out there smoking weed. We had to call the code in because they cut down one of our trees, decided to put a barbecue grill in, they let the dog come over. They are a nuisance house. I'm sure there's a lot more going on than just smoking marijuana. But as landlords, like this gentleman said, we do our due diligence. We check on PA web dockets, and sometimes they'll give you an alias name. Not thinking about it, you think, oh, okay, they're okay, until something happens, and then you do a little bit more, and they've got another name, and then they've got these convictions. So what happens then? We're stuck with this person that is a nuisance. Usually we can get them out, but as he said, the DJ, he'll tell the people, oh, well, you can get legal aid. Go down there and they'll help you out. And then we're stuck with them for another 2 or 3 months with no rent, tearing our house up. You know, we need some help too, landlords. How do we get these people out that are a nuisance?
Is
But
the
we
city,
go through
is the
down-
city council willing to go to court for the landlords that are interested in evicting somebody for the breaking of your own ordinance?
Good point.
Well, that's a good question. Honestly, I think that code would have to do that as a witness. I think they'd probably be subpoenaed witnesses for that type of proceeding.
But that's extra money. Couldn't they just do it because it's the right thing to do? You're
No,
asking us to do the right thing. Can he do it? Because it costs money for the landlord to have to subpoena
Yeah.
somebody.
Well, I think it's $7, but,
Oh, is it just
yeah,
seven?
but it doesn't, I mean, it shouldn't cost you anything. I'm just saying that even if the city couldn't do that, because let's say, and I don't know this, Deb, but let's just say our insurance said we can't do it voluntarily, okay? I'm not saying that's the case, I'm just giving you an example.
Right.
Then all you have to do is pay the money to subpoena somebody.
Oh, and if it's
they
$7,
certainly
it's no
come in
big
and,
deal.
you know what I mean?
It's worth it.
Do like I do. I charge $400.
Go ahead, sir.
Post on the lease.
My name's James Scheib. I've lived over
And I
here
tell them, I
probably
said, we got
30
this.
years at least, since the 1990s I've had rental.
I've been doing that for years now.
I don't fear walking downtown. I mean, I walk at sometimes 2 in the morning down through, and I've seen those same people down there, and I say hi to them. I don't think I've seen a gentleman that, nobody's ever asked me for money or anything like that. I come from a small town called Millmont, if anybody knows where that is, but I love living over here, and I think this is a great city. I do think you're doing a good job. Just wanted to let you know that you're actually, working on the problems. Now that I complimented and everything, I just wanted to throw out a possible another solution. And maybe you can't do this, I don't know if the solicitor would agree or disagree. Anybody that's interested in renting in the city of Sunbury, say I'm a renter, I get my background check, I submit it to you, you hold it on file. You say yay or nay, and you have, like, kind of segue off of what he said, you have a listing of the people who are available to rent. And then that, once that's been approved, then that person can go around town and wherever they want, interview, talk, landlords, do whatever they need to do, but they have been approved. We always throw the onus on the landlord to do this, and it's a landlord this, and let's throw the onus onto the actual person, the tenant, that is looking for, if he wants to live in Sunbury, I don't see that would be a problem. Maybe I'm wrong, I don't know the legal aspect of it again.
And then
Maybe you
city
can't do it
council
that
can
way.
also give out the landlords that do keep up on their properties and
Yes.
stuff.
Yeah,
That's a great idea.
In answer to your
And
question,
you can charge a fee.
in answer to your
Charge a
question,
fee for it, yeah, again.
But-
Charge a fee for that.
just to answer your question honestly, I don't know the answer either. But it's a great question, it's why nobody's voting tonight.
Yeah.
And the reason is things like that, because that's something we need to look up. That's something we're gonna have to look into, but those kind of suggestions are very helpful. And while I don't know it tonight, I can guarantee I'll know for the next one.
And I think this is a great city too, and I do defend it when there seems to be a thing on the other side of the river and on this side of the river. And I'm from the other side of the river and I'm over here, and when I'm on that side of the river, they knock everything over here and it ticks me off. And everything, it ticks me off as well. I wish we could just make them live over here for a little bit and everything. It's not as bad as everybody says. Now, I'm not saying none of this stuff happens. Everybody has their own personal stories, and I've seen stuff when I've called the police on different things and everything. But that's one of the things that you need to do. You can't be scared in your home and be cowering down. When you see something going on next door or 2 doors down, you call. You need to call them and let them know. Sorry, that's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Go ahead, sir.
My name's Mark Stolsters. We do have property here in town, and we try to be very careful who we rent to. We've never had a problem with that situation. But my question is, so we do have a tenant, and they are convicted. We have to kick them out, right?
It depends on the circumstances.
Well, on what you're talking about.
And how long. But yes, if they only, let me answer this clearly. If you are up for renewal, then the background checks would come in under this ordinance here. And that person would have to be out if they're within the 7 years without the 3-year thing and they're convicted of the felony and whatever. But it's not immediate, it would only be if you come up for a renewal permit.
So
Is how it's written.
So how about if someone owns a property and is convicted as a felon?
That's not part of this.
Is that not discriminatory?
It's a double
I don't
standard.
know, I'll be honest with you.
Double standard.
And that's another honest answer. I can't tell you the truth, I'm gonna have to look that up, but it's a good point.
I've never been scared here in the city of Sunbury but one time. My wife and I don't normally eat out. We met at Burger King so that we could have a little meal together in the evening. And a fight arose between a bunch of teenagers out in the parking lot. And it spilled over into the Burger King. One young fellow just about ran over our table trying to run away from it. A bunch more were coming in the door. The manager and I both went to the door and pushed him back out. It was just a bunch of teenagers fighting. I was never so glad to see a Sunbury cop arrive on the scene. What was the older gentleman's name? M.A. Matthew. He arrived on the scene and just like everybody scattered. I was really glad to see him that night because I was scared. But that wasn't because of drugs, that was just because of kids that were fighting. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We have about a few more minutes left here. Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, go ahead, Amy.
I apologize for not being present, but I wanted to just jump in and quickly say that as far as the Realtors Association, the Central Susquehanna Valley Board of Realtors being the one that mostly oversees, or we're in that particular board in the city, and carrying up to the state level and the Pennsylvania Association of Realtors. I've been following this, and so Mr. Storm may be speaking on behalf of himself and perhaps his broker with his broker's permission. The National Association of Realtors, do not misunderstand me, very concerned with fair housing, discrimination, all of those things. But a position had not been taken on this ordinance because we wanted to be a part of this informational meeting and are planning to have a discussion as a local board and talk with the state association before a position taken. And I just want to make sure that's very clear because we are looking at the best interest of the community and as an operating property manager with, that works for a brokerage who has a very large property management portfolio. I want it to be very clear that we are taking all things into consideration and an official position from realtors has not been taken as far as those organizations and entities exist to date.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you, Amy.
Josh, can I just have 10 minutes?
Go ahead.
We had a discussion a few years ago about the same thing. And there were different professional agencies and stuff that came. And the one person stated that they charge, and anybody that comes to rent, they say, we want $50 from you for a background check. If they say no, they don't rent to them. If they say yes, they give you the money. If it comes back clean, they take it off their first month's rent. If it doesn't come back clean, they don't give it back and they don't rent to them. That's just one policy you might want to look at. It's pretty straight and upfront. If you ask the person if they're willing to pay $50 for a backup check, and they say no, then you don't rent to them. It's pretty well cut and dry.
Are there any final comments here as this meeting comes to an end? Any final comments? Go ahead, ma'am.
I had to do that. To run here 18 years ago, I had to do that with the realtor agency, pay $25 fee for my background checks up front, and it came off my rent the first month. That's nothing old. That was my landlord and the realtor. But what's the problem with that? Then we're not violating anyone's rights because they're giving us permission to go ahead and get that. You have to get a background check to get a job. You have to get a background check to get a car sometimes. There's no different.
Thank you. Any other final comments? Oh, go ahead.
Okay, so this is a little bit of a spin-off. I've loved listening to the conversation tonight. I'm Bria from Kulu, but it's a spin-off of what you're both saying and thinking about better landlord-tenant relations. Something that's really beautiful about Sunbury is we have a lot of resources right here in a walkable distance in our town. We have everything from the action agencies, United Way, we have literacy classes, we have an active library board, we have Career Link, and we have different programs that are even held where you're sitting right now. Something that I would maybe suggest in implementation, if it's possible, is could we get a resource guide that we could add to our rental permit packet? code officers are fantastic in like answering questions, but maybe feeding that information to the tenants would provide some resources to break some cycles, give some new opportunities, maybe provide better tenants for everybody. And there are a lot of assistance right now, like ERAP with rental or utility help. It might be a tough winter this year. So just some of those resources might help develop a better relationship. I know that's a spin-off and not directly on point, so I waited to the very end. So I hope everyone got to talk or voice their opinion on the ordinance itself. But maybe that's part of that solution finding that you were talking about, is we can build up a better landlord-tenant relationship in Sunbury and use our resources.
Thank you, Bree.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you everyone for coming out here this evening. If you do come up with additional comments,